Rise and shine, sleepyhead. It's a brand new day.
Just sit right back and you'll hear a tale.
Science! It's the most outrageous man on radio.
It's an excursion into the odd and into the very, very different.
Good morning.
This is insane.
Quality, quantity, and variety.
ROCKFLUX.
Let's get this show on the road.
And thank you. And away we go. Here we are again. Sunday, the 24th of April. Yes, I have to look at the calendar. Every day is another day for a guy like me. No data. YouTube is not receiving. What a way to start the show. That's weird. Strange. I might have to start the show again or something. Well, let's see. We're up to 2173. I don't know. Do we have a show or don't we? Something going on weird here. Doesn't like the black and white version, maybe? Yeah, we're frozen up. So I think it's going to clear up shortly. So thank you for, it has cleared up already. So hopefully you just will have fast forwarded. I don't know what's going on. Like I said, yesterday's show was harmless. Today's show is, well, it's a free flow of consciousness. Quality seems to be pretty good. It says YouTube is not receiving enough data in the past, but at the present, I'm kicking out like 28, 29, 3,000 kilobytes per second, 30 frames per second. Yeah, excellent connection. All right, we got through that. That was a surprise. I just had to give the cat a little bit of a steroid, thing in the mouth. Slurp, which he doesn't like, and I'm running out of, and that stuff seems to be the only stuff that brings him back to life. So I don't know what's going on with that. And I know steroids aren't good for people, so I doubt if they're good for cats. I did all this workout. I put this title card here. The subtitle of the show is "Change is Inevitable, but Current Changes Are Insane." And I just did there's a chat, cha-cha-cha changes, the Bowie line. And this video is not about rodents or beer, but...
You're listening to Tony Caravan Live.
But because it's Tony Caravan Live, you're going to hear my little brief opening statement story. I got a headache. I don't know. I think I have some kind of like tumor in my sinuses. I just hope it's not growing. Last thing I need is another CT scan to the head. Things I talk about on this show, my health, and I keep doing this stuff, and half the time I say it with a smiling face. Coffee is hot. I wish I was drinking a Guinness in that exact bar. From that picture, that photo on the screen, the title card. But be that as it may, yeah, the cat had his sixth sense, but he just wasn't doing too well. And the steroid thing helps him. I'm going to have to put him back on antibiotics, I think. And that's going to be 10 days of terror. But since I'm running out of the steroid thing, I don't think it'll just be basically one injection a day, because of steroids. Looks like I only probably have a day or a couple days of those left. So maybe to kick off, that thing. And if this doesn't work, I don't know what to do at that point. I left a big thing of food up there for him. Hopefully he eats it once the steroid kicks in. It supposedly makes him hungry. I think that's partially the reason I have a headache. Another reason I might have a headache is the way I sleep, maybe. I don't know. I mean, I sleep with my head kind of semi-elevated, like properly and all that stuff. And I don't really have a little bit of tension here in the neck, but it could be an overwhelming amount of stress, it's possible. The things we do as humans, people get acupuncture, people go to chiropractors, masseuse, all of these things, they pop all these, ibuprofens and various pain pills, muscle relaxants, everything, and you look at them, yeah, we're into the show. They're all unnecessary, right? We shouldn't be stressed out. And then stress creates this, this enzyme, I can't even think about it. But whatever it is, it's no good for you. And it's not good for me because I'm trying to somehow dissolve or hold off the any kind of gallbladder issues. So it's like whatever that is. The stress hormone, Let's look it up quick just while we're at it. Yeah, it's the right side of my eye. Could be my glasses. I could just need new glasses, But no, I wake up with it sometimes. I think it's just stress. Stress hormone? Cortisol. Yeah, I didn't even have to go anywhere. So, yeah, cortisol. That's the last thing I need. So, and we suffer that too. So people are just stressed out. And then stress, I think, contracts blood vessels. It's not good for the heart, throws people over the deep end. And, and then you've got, and really what you really need is to be like this squirrel, just having a beer and chilling out, Well, at least that's what I'd like to be doing right now, having a Guinness. So I got a friend of mine came down yesterday, so we went up to the hardware store, the one that carries things, and I got a bag of soil, which I needed. I didn't open that, deal with that. Today's supposed to be sunny. Let's check the
Weekend weather.
I'm in the mid-Atlantic states, as I always say. So let's look at the weather app. It's 55 degrees outside the studio. When it's all said and done, when this show's over, it'll be around 57. But the high today is supposed to be 81 degrees. The overnight, 57. Originally, it was supposed to be sunny all day. But now it's saying 20% chance of, what? Rain, clouds, sun? I don't know. Monday's supposed to be almost a carbon copy of today, but the night's times get colder. But however, next week, now I don't know what this is all about. Sometimes they just take averages or, they just do this to mess with your mind. But they're saying Tuesday, 34 overnight, Wednesday, 28 overnight, and Thursday, 30 overnight. So they're talking about basically frost and then colder. Right? While most people this weekend, I think, have done planting. And they warn you not to plant, but, Anyway, that's your
Weekend weather.
And like I say, if I'm in the mid-Atlantic states, that pretty much holds true for a pretty big swath of the former United States, on the eastern side, that is. Down south, I guess you're going to be experiencing some heat. Serious heat. I know there's been some storms tracking through where they usually do occur, Tornado Alley and, in some of those southern parts. It's nothing new, but it's unfortunate that, people have to go through those traumatic experiences. And, so, and of course, up in the Northeast, it's a little bit, far Northeast, it's a little bit cooler. But it's good for them. I think today will be considered good weather. Okay, so that's the weather. We got that out of the way. Yesterday, I have it on the screens black and white just for the heck of it, since we had a black and white title card. But for some reason, the Earth is a big blue marble, which is hardly what it looks like. It's actually there's so much space junk and little satellites and stuff, and, floating around it that actually it looks like a garbage heap planet. I've popped that up a couple of times. And I've been thinking about putting the Be Nice shirt up to replace the Then What, but I don't know. For now, I guess we're okay. It's 5:04 a.m. Eastern Time in the morning, and I have no live viewers, listeners, whatever, but that's nothing new either. So anyway, like I said, yesterday someone came down. So I got a bag of soil. I got 5 bags of this lava rock. Do you ever see that? It's like red rock. And there's always this like powder and, sticky, I don't know. It seems like they treat the rock to make it, because in other words, they call it lava rock. And like an idiot, I never really read the bag to look at the contents. And I actually have some in the garage. They're all crumbled up in a thing, but maybe I'll put on some gloves and uncrumble one out of the trash and read it. But they're, the idea is that, I guess it's lava rock. They dye them red or put something on it. Hopefully it's nothing that's going to hurt the plants. You just don't know. And I wasn't thinking. I haven't been thinking. I just like the looks of them. I would like to get what they call pea gravel or just gravel, period, but that's almost impossible to get. Down the street at the staging area where this big construction company that's ruined our street is, they've got a mound of gravel that's like, I don't know, 30 feet high and, it's just almost a parking lot full of gravel. I feel like going down there with a bucket, But I don't want to get, arrested for stealing gravel. Man arrested for stealing bucket of gravel from construction site. But I wanted it for my garden. Keep the weeds and rodents. So anyway, after all that work I did the other day where I poured literally a half gallon of ammonia back by my compost pile, which again, I told you I don't keep food stuff there. It's just basically clippings from tree clippings and, branch clippings. So it's not edibles or something, but I guess it's a nesting type. It could potentially be a nesting type of area. And I've moved and I got a bag of concrete. And yesterday I saw a hole under one of my raised beds, and so I filled that hole with concrete, shoved a couple of these lava rocks down, and then wet the concrete, put some more concrete around that general area, and then just like tamp down the lava rock all over it. I could probably, and since I'm talking about it, I could probably show you this picture. It's kind of a pain to do because my phone has to warm up. Let's see if you can see that. Yeah, see the apple there? This is an old iPhone. I just use it for photos, and I have that $40 a year Magic Jack, and I have a Wi-Fi app, so I could use it as a phone if there's Wi-Fi. I don't have cell phone service. I mean, that's not true. I have this cheap ass cell phone, Android phone that was given to me. And I use that more like that's just like an emergency type thing. I'm trying to quit this photo app, but it wants to keep bringing it up. All right, let's look at iPhone here. We'll go to camera. There you can see my coffee. See that little light in my coffee cup? That's the heater. I might as well give you, if you're new to the show, a tour of how the studio works. You see over there to the left is YouTube Studio. It's a little out of focus, but what do you expect from an Apple iPhone, old Apple iPhone? And then here, looking through, this is what I see. And then over here are my audio clips. There's a keyboard below there. See if it focuses in. I have 2 mice in order to operate the dual keyboards. But anyway, the reason you're brought here is because what I'm going to do is give you some photos. These are some onions that I put in yesterday. All right. This is kind of a funky picture. This is from ground level. These are Swiss chard that I have under this plastic thing to protect them from either the rodents, and it's not. This is the Guinness squirrel thing that I used on the screen, but the rodent I have is literally a rat that's coming from the neighbor's yard. Now I don't know if a rat could easily get in there, but at least it's keeping the frost. This is more for the frost that comes next Tuesday and Wednesday. The next photo, which there seems to be a delay here, is cilantro that I grew indoors, and I figured I'd put that outdoors. Cilantro can, it's bent over, and I guess a lot of those bent over yellowy pieces, I'll yank those out and put them in a salsa. I might do that today. But the other stuff will survive cooler weather, even a frost. But this next picture is, that pond looks pretty gnarly, but the water's clear. You're seeing the bottom of it. And that little stick is the birds walk down that stick and take a drink and wash themselves. And that thing, there's a little thing shooting up. That circular black thing is actually a solar fountain. But the purpose of this photo is to show you the red, those are called the lava rocks. You can see how I have that raised bed beyond it, where I have that covering over it, and that's another frost protection. It's kind of, these outdoor greenhousey type of effects you can do. And on the other one, you just see like some scrumpled burlap to protect it from the birds eating the seeds, and also it'll protect it from the frost. But underneath that red lava rock around this pond I put some concrete there, particularly against, the hole was against that raised bed. So I think there might have been some kind of thing, burrow or something that this one rat was working at. And so I just sealed it up with concrete and put lava rock over top of it to prevent it from even dreaming of going back. And here's something that looks really nice, this next photo. In the background's my mini, it's like a dwarf Christmas tree. To the left of that's like kind of a dwarf apple tree. I don't think that's going to grow. But in the foreground are 2 different types of kale plants that are doing very well. And again, they're cool weather crops. So they'll survive the cold weather next week. And this is just showing, this next picture is this was just several days ago to show you we had snow. And this is some birds around my bird feeder, which is the area where I have a problem with this rodent that wants to eat bird seed. So, snowbirds. Kind of cool. I think I took a couple, well, we'll go back to this picture just because it's kind of cool. They're on my Instagram page if you're interested. And these are some of my apps that I have on this phone. That thing called DMinder, that like tells you the solar, like when how much vitamin D you can get from the sun and when. It's kind of a neat idea. And I probably should have done this with a legendary handkerchief while I was showing you pictures, but I didn't think of it. Anyway, that's a little bit of show and tell.
You're listening to Tony Caravan Live.
But this video is not about rodents or beer. Or slurping coffee. But apart from the headache, which is starting to fade, I ate a couple saltine crackers with no salt on top. I'm drinking my coffee, and I'm kind of relaxed, I guess, a little bit. Get my mind off it. Like I said, I did some physical work out there, but the rat's still out there. So it's like this ongoing thing. It's like, what was that? Joe versus the volcano. This is like Tony versus the rat. It's a daily thing, and it's not, But today's supposed to be a very nice day, and tomorrow's supposed to be nice as well. And so I'll try to use these 2 days, though I probably should spend one of these, at least an hour upstairs in the attic, shoring up a couple of things since it's dry. I have some 100% silicone that will dry in 24, 48 hours. So I should do that today. Plus I have to go, I have some boards up there, that little boards I could bring down, and I could use those to help shore up some things. So that's something I need to do. And I need to make a note of that because I deal with so many things that I have to write notes, because I want to remember to get paper plates, some cheap trash bags. Today's sun. I need to get them. Well, I could wait till tomorrow morning. And I was going to do some outdoor painting. I wanted to bring my laptop down to charge it. I have this old laptop. It's a MacBook Air, but the battery's like gone. So it doesn't hold, the battery won't hold its charge. It's like laptop down, attic, boards, and what did I say? I was going to caulk. So you can see, I mean, I've constantly got all these things, on top of, dealing with this rodent outside. But anyway, like I was talking about, I started out with the pain thing and the idea that we take this and we have these problems. This is a flow of consciousness. I wouldn't say this is a continuation of yesterday's video, which was kind of, I don't know. For some people, it was probably depressing and boring, and they shut it off fairly quickly. But if you would have made it to the end, I mean, I think the thing came together and made sense. But then again, I think all my videos do that. I watch them. But this is nice. It's nice that we've had a couple of decent days. The weather's decent. it was cool enough that the heat went on this morning, so this room is like is at a nice temperature. It's not hot, it's not cold, it's just right. And apart from that weird hiccup beginning, which I don't know what was going on, I'm using hardly any CPU. It's like less than 9% of my CPU is being used to do this, operate this program. I'm coming at you at 30 frames per second in black and white, which is like obviously less. And my kilobytes per second is over 2,900, peaking over 3,000, which is totally ample for a good, decent video at, I guess 1080p or whatever you call it. So, anything that occurs is basically YouTube just messing with me. Of course, they're messing with me right now since I have no viewers and this is a live show and, it's hidden. When I dip down there, I'm drinking my coffee. And usually I drink a little bit more coffee more frequently early on and less as the show progresses. All right, we got all that out of the way. Oh. But I had a fairly good night of sleep. I mean, the cat woke me up at 1-ish. And I was thinking, oh, man, but I knew, it needed some attention. And so it's like I was petting it, was hanging out next to me, was purring. And I knew I was going to have to give it that little bit of steroid. And I know this stuff's running out. What really I kicked myself for, the vet had given us another bottle of the steroid, and I had thrown out the old one, and I should have saved it because the steroid stuff really helps it. And she probably knew that too, and that's probably why she did it. And I don't remember throwing it out, but I did. And I asked a friend of mine who was, went to the vet. And so, yeah, I guess we just got rid of it. But he's like a different cat when he gets that steroid. Yesterday he was ravenously eating. So at least I know yesterday he ate. Which was the day after I gave him. At this point, it was supposed to be steroid every other day till it's done, but I think it's just about done. I tried shaking it and I didn't really hear it. I heard just very little. So I think I only have it. And I gave him a half of a little, this much in the, like this. It's like a syringe without a needle. You just kind of squeeze it so it gets into his mouth so he doesn't spit it out. Hopefully he didn't spit it out or puke it. Sometimes he does that, and that's a total washout. But I thought I'd try to hopefully get 2 more days out of this, get him through the week, because I think I'm going to put him back on this antibiotic that I do have plenty of. He's not going to like that at all. But his nose wasn't cold. So he's still suffering. And I try to put this microbiome powdery stuff in his food, which I say I hope he goes up there and licks and gets some of that in there to help build his microbiome up. He did eat yesterday. He's got to get protein and fat and stuff in there so he doesn't end up with a fatty liver. It's fur and bones, and I know you don't want to hear this story every day, so I'm not going to talk to you about it. So I guess we'll just continue along this line I started with. I don't want to talk about pain because it just reminds you of pains, But think about it, how much of our life is stress, right? And how unnatural that is. And a lot of it's caused, I have this change is inevitable, but current changes are insane. But it's this constant change that leads to this stress. They say, people want, you want kind of sameness, right? a lot of people like routine, at least, I mean, I don't really care. I could do something different every day, but I mean, you kind of want to know what you're doing. I have stressful situations. I have a more stressful life than most because, I'm nurturing a cat, dealing with a rodent that could ruin my garden this year, which is what I tend to spend half my year, is like the joy of half my year. And some other things, the rain, leaky roof, and, all kind of, I mean, so I have, and, pains and fighting off this gallbladder thing, hopefully. So, it's stress. I've managed to get myself out of the financial stress. And that's my book, Then What, has a nice budget sheet in there that if you buy the print version of that, you could make copies of it, or it's just something to give you an idea, even just the thought and to start thinking in concerns of living within your means, particularly in this time of runaway inflation and, where you can't believe what you hear on TV or from the politicians or any of these YouTube pundits or Twitter people, right? Again, I'm just a social critic, philosopher, armchair philosopher, or whatever. I'm not trying to sell you any ideology. I might be trying to sell you my book, or a T-shirt, or tell you to listen to my songs for free or whatever. But only to help you, only in the most kindest way, like it says up there by the on air sign, be nice. So you don't have stress in your life. And unfortunately for a lot of people, some of the biggest stress they have is economic stress. Right? And a lot of violence in our society today is caused by stress. Stress, people watch all these movies and commercials and they want that car, they want that clothes, they want those objects, they want these, devices. And, some people resort to crime to get them. Other people just are very stressed out about it. And then there's that idea of change that, from one month to the next, they're telling us something different, or they're trying to fearmonger us with something, or the news. I mean, the news is so stressful if you watch the news. Again, I cut the cord. I have no satellite or cable TV. I don't watch the news. But I'm still exposed to it because the news has gotten its own little, on the YouTube. If you're watching me on YouTube, you know what I'm talking about. Unless you're watching from a smartphone. I don't know how it works on a smartphone, to be honest with you. I can't imagine watching YouTube on a tiny screen. But if you're watching it using a Fire TV or, Roku box, or on your computer, desktop computer, or even a laptop, YouTube has these rows, and it's the top one's usually recommended. Then sometimes it's recent. That's recent isn't always there. Sometimes it's news, down a little bit. And then there's a live row, and with these, title cards. If I could get my thumb the right way. Like I said, this is a backwards mirror. There's a row of title cards, and a cute little squirrel drinking a beer. You would think someone would click on that out of curiosity. I would. Like, what the heck's that? But Nobody does. It doesn't matter what's on there. I could have a beautiful girl. I could have some tremendous graphics, provocative title, and they still don't click on it because it's not there. It's not listed under live, the column. But what I was talking about is the news. So the network news, the mainstream media now has somehow pressured, I guess, or bought into, paid YouTube so that they get like, you know, the third line down or the third, you know, so they're on the screen as like the news. And then again, we're supposed to take these things as if they're not papers, you know, like traditional media. They're just, right. So they could like not be held accountable. But the point is, if it's like let's look at, they used to call them e-zines in the 90s. Because the internet, and it's still that way in many ways, but people are starting to break loose and, you know, there is some experimental and some interesting stuff going on. Very few and far between, and it's hard to find because nobody's talking about it but me right now. But generally speaking, when the internet first came out, it was the graphic designers, guys like myself, people who had printing graphics backgrounds, who were the early webmasters because they were familiar with the graphics program, so they were able to build websites, construct things, and new understood typography and graphic images and all that sort of thing. It says no data right now. No, excellent connection. But anyway, and so it's because I was criticizing Google. They mustn't. It's like they're pushing a button. Don't go there. And so there was a thing they used to say like e-zines, and a lot of people came out with e-zines. I may have even had one for a short period of time because I experimented with a lot of different configurations of websites. We're talking back in the 90s. And so, in effect, you know, when you look at YouTube, see, here's how I say they're not adhering. First of all, that Section 230, whatever it is a indirect violation of the First Amendment, right? There's no question about it. If Congress shall make no law abridging freedom of speech, certainly you can't hide under the thing of a private company being allowed to do it. By that, like I said, by that standard many times, then a private company can commit murder and it's legal just because they're a private company. And someone said, yeah, but there's Section 230. No, Section 230 is not Congress. If Congress has shall make no law, if the creating body of the United States cannot make a law abridging freedom of speech, well, then certainly there cannot exist a thing known as Section 230 because Congress isn't even permitted under the U.S. Constitution to abridge free speech. So you can't have a Section 230. This is like something that a judge, if someone even brought this to court, the judge would throw it out and hopefully laughing, saying, you got to be kidding. Read the First Amendment. What are you doing in my chambers? What are you doing in my courtroom? Right? Get out of here. Right? But to top that off, you know, that's just, it's inarguable. And there's somebody out there might want, oh, yeah, but no, it's inarguable. Read the First Amendment. Congress shall make no law, blah, 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 blah. And in there, one of the items, there's several items that Congress can't do, is abridging freedom of speech. So if Congress can't do it, certainly some private company, or some bureaucracy or some, you can't create a Section 230 and say, oh, we're hiding under that. We're a private company, so we can do this. No, what they are, and look at it in a further, why the whole thing's farcical is that they're an e-zine. So you look at Photoshop, for example, but they're all like that. In other words, E stands for electronic. It used to be E-machines, it was before I. I as an internet phone, I this, I that. But in the beginning, it was electronic. It's just because people were coming out of the 80s, I guess, so it was, weird. So it was e-zine, Macs, they had there was like an e-machine out that just went on the internet for people who just wanted to use that for email and internet. They had an e-zine, e-machine it was called or something. E-Mac, I don't know. Maybe they were PCs. I don't even remember. But I remember them in devices. I never had one. I had no use for one because I always had a computer dating back to the 80s, Just drank coffee in case I keep doing that thing where I just go down. So an e-zine or an i-zine or an internet magazine, all right, which is what YouTube is, right, in effect, they have, what is a magazine? A magazine is something that has multiple, in generally speaking, unless it's a niche magazine like Sportsman's Guide, right? But even, even those things will have sports news, right? Sports photos, sports bios, all kinds of stuff. But but generally speaking, like Time magazine, the type of idea of a magazine or a zine is that it's news, it's editorials, it's stories, and the content inside of it is from all different sources and all different writers, right? Contributors. In fact, I don't know if they've had the smarts enough to do this in the actual physical publications, but if they've changed the name, usually there's a thing where it says right in the masthead, contributors. And those contributors will be, people who contributed photographs, contributed stories, contributed, whatever. So you understand. See, at the very least, so on two accounts, one, it's a direct violation of the First Amendment, right, of the Constitution, right, for them to do anything they're doing as far as censoring, banning, or whatever. And second of all, even if that weren't the case, they're functioning as magazines, which means they are publications. They're not platforms. That's like saying Time magazine is a platform or the Washington Post is a platform. They have contributors. They have different sources, right? You see what I mean? If you turn on a mainstream media, even television station, they have contributors, different sources, right? Different videos, right? Documentaries, video clips, whatever. They don't own all those things. They haven't produced those things themselves. They're just airing them, right? There's things people don't think about. They could have defeated that thing in court anytime they wanted to, but no one had the will. And that's why I'm trying to tell you that you get caught up in this cult of personality, and people think elections are going to make a difference this year or a couple more years from now. Things don't, the more things change, the more they stay the same. And the change that we're experiencing are like on the ground level, are the stressful changes, are the changes of torture. It's like I was watching this. I like this actress, Teresa Palmer. And I was really happy to see that she was in this. It was called The Discovery of Witches. And I don't know if it was on Paramount or whatever. Which is another thing I have to do is I have to cancel. I have so many notes I have to make here. Pardon me. It was AMC. Cancel AMC. I did this trial, 7-day trial, and I think it's up today. I'm just gonna cancel it. I just wanted to see that. I always thought she was a gorgeous girl, and she deserved more movie roles than she got. And then I was really happy to see, and it was a 3 seasons, so I binge watched it. I hope I didn't exceed the the week. Let's go to the videotape. No, let's go to. If you don't know where that's from, there used to be this New York guy on a New York TV station, and he was that was what he always would say when he would talk about something, and then he would go, "Let's go to the videotape," even though past the time of videotapes. I think he's probably long gone, unless he's like 99 years old and still at it. Let's look at Teresa Palmer, Australian actress. I didn't know that. Let's look at pictures of her. Isn't she cute? Yeah, she's cute. I was wondering about that. So she's married and has a couple kids. That lucky guy. Yeah. But, to me, it's funny, a lot of these Australian actresses. Yeah. I guess this Mark Webber's her husband. I don't know if he was from that show Discovery of Witches or not. It's hard to say. But anyway, yeah, that's who I was talking about. I guess this is her in character in Discovery of Witches. That was like the thing. It wasn't that bad. It was all right, and it was 3 seasons, and it came to conclusion. But generally speaking, geez, 4 kids. Well, I think if I was married to her, I'd probably have 4 kids. I wouldn't be able to stop. What was the other thing I was talking about while we're on the internet here? Oh no, I would have to go in and show you all my passwords and stuff. I wanted to cancel my AMC thing. But anyway, I was watching that thing. If I'm stuck with it for another month, so be it. But it was something to watch. End of day, I'd watch like 2 or 3, maybe 3 episodes or more. So, depending on if it was that a couple of those days where it rained all day, I just sit there and marathoned about 5 of them. We've all done that, right? Binge watching is just something that's part of our culture in the past decade or so. The coffee tastes okay. It's coffee. I kind of got used to this Cafe Bustelo or whatever it is. But anyway, so back to the struggle of life and stress and things like that, and the changes that cause this stress. Like I said, change is inevitable. It's not like, and I know a lot of people want to resist change because they just like that, sameness and the quality of life being predictable, right? But that's not the way it is. We age. Unfortunately, we get ill. Things happen, blah, blah, blah. But, what's going on now, this rapid amount of change that's in many ways is brought about intentionally by bureaucrats, the corporatocracy, formerly known as the government, in order to keep us in this like constant state of stress, right? Just like unsettled. Because that's what change is. Change is unsettling, right? When we're, you walk into a room and it's something, things are changed, moved around, or you go to a place, or you go to a town you used to live in or something, and it's like, where's that? You're like, it's unsettling, right? And unsettling, and that causes stress. It's like people in the stock market, though, those people basically are part of the problem. But, they can't stand, things that aren't everything, the same, They don't like change. They don't like, anything to be not predictable or, So we, as citizens, so to speak, have to deal with all of this change. And it stresses us out. And I'm going to clip my nails while I'm talking about this, because they're out of control and I have to multitask, and I only have so much time in a day, and I have to deal with the cat. And I'm the only guy in the world that would ever think of doing this. But then again, like I said.
You're listening to Tony Caravan Live.
What can I say? And if you don't like it.
Go ahead and shoot. You'll be doing me a favor.
Right? So, how do we cope with that? How do we cope with the society that is ever changing? And it's changing rapidly. For some people, change is good. Like, if you're in the chip industry, or looking forward to the faster chips, technology, the faster things change, the better, the better. So it's not like, a guy, I was going to say a guy like Elon Musk, but, he's a car salesman. I still can't figure out this whole Twitter thing. They just, like, that seems to be dominating the internet. Like I said, and everybody's just repeating. There's another thing about YouTube, and, well, of course, Twitter was always like that, and I'm sure it still is. It's the concept of things that go viral, but it's not even so much that things go viral. I don't know why my nose is. It's just bothering me. But it's this idea that everybody like just picks up on the same story, but they rehash it, but they pretend as if there's some, it's like in the media, breaking news. And it's the same old stuff, right? It's like, come on. But what does he want Twitter for? And what's the big deal about Twitter? And you'll say, oh, well, Twitter is influential, right? And you'll also say, I can't believe that guy's actually clipping his nails on a live broadcast. Nobody's viewing this thing. I know somebody will view this in, after the fact, but still, I'm talking. I'm multitasking. I've always been a multitasker. Yeah, right? Does that bother you?
Oh, no.
Yeah. So, yeah, let Twitter go away. It just stresses people out. And it's the same stuff talked about over and over. And like I said, on many occasions, because I was on Twitter, it's just half the stuff are just bots. And with this AI that's capable of communicating, putting together a paragraph that's, as you know, in many cases better formed grammatically than most humans, since most humans are majority of people, or almost the majority of people in the U.S. are now considered functionally illiterate by the government. That GPT-3 is and GPT-4 coming soon to a server near you. Actually, I need to do the old Elvis Costello thing. And you know what that is. Filing the nails, right? That line. She's filing the nails as, well, not she, but me. Filing nails as they're dragging the lake. Watching the detectives. That's why I'm shaking, because I'm filing. Just to make sure I don't have any hangnails or whatever. Vibrations. Good vibrations. But yeah, so what does it really mean, and why are people getting stressed out and angered over it, and then obsessed with it and addicted to it and needing some kind of dopamine hit, which is no different than basically other stressful situations where you rely on some sort of drug or, something else to calm you down or to deal with it, or it's an addiction and you need to do it. I don't know. It's just, in general, it's pretty wacky. Do you ever have like things like this? Like, here's a key. And it's in a box. And you have no idea what the hell the key's for. And it's been in there for like 5 or 6 years. I have no idea what that key opens. I think I have a key on my keychain. I don't even know what it opens. It's weird. So you have to break free of these things, and eliminate stress as best as possible. Stress is inevitable. Change is inevitable. I mean, we can't change reality in that regard. Though I was watching this guy, these people that talk about the world is not real, or it's dreamlike and all that sort of stuff. We create our own realities. And yesterday I did touch on that idea that we see the world the way we do because we have to, in order to function within the world. Because if we saw all kinds of other stuff that's out there, we would be so diverted that mustaches are itchy, man, especially when you're drinking coffee nonstop. That there'd be, it's bad enough we have so many diversions as there are. It just would be insane if we had the eyesight like eagle eyes, or if we had, even the vision of a squirrel like on the screen, right? Our eyes were on the sides of our heads, so we were like looking at, almost a 360 view or something. It's crazy. So how do you navigate through all this stuff? And how do you survive? And how do you keep your sanity? And how do you keep from having that cortisol released, those stress hormones that are destructive to your body? I mean, necessary in one regard, but I mean, but not unnecessary, not to be ODing on stress hormones, which will cause damage, and then headaches and, all sorts of other physical ailments that come out of that. And to the point of people having a stroke, extreme levels, people have a heart attack or a stroke, through stress, extreme stressful situations, if their body's weakened enough by the various processed foods. And speaking of that, there's all these stories of it. Have you seen the stories? And people are like, again, they're copying one another, but, several videos are all dealing with these food processing plants that have had explosions in the past several months. There's been more than a half dozen or so. And in most cases, some of them are just out of production's done, And, they talk about food on upcoming food shortages and things of that nature. Just another thing to add a layer of stress to add to people's, uncertainty. That's the thing I was trying to talk about with the way Wall Street is. Wall Street doesn't like uncertainty, but it's the same thing as, So, we just don't know. And people, you want to know, you want to have an idea of, when you enter a room, you want to have an idea of what to expect, right? Somebody says, hey, we're going to go to this bar, we're going to go to this party, or we're going to go to this event, or we're going to go visit some friends of mine. And the first thing, if you're going with someone, the first thing you say is, well, what are they like? What's this place like? Blah, blah, blah. You want to have at least an idea. You're not saying, okay, sit down, draw me a picture of the layout of the room, and do you have a sketch of the people we're going to see? It's like, I don't care about it. The details are not that important, but you at least want to have an idea, right, of what to expect. And today we have no idea what to expect. Because like I say, every couple of weeks or every month or so, there's something new they're throwing at us. And they're keeping us in this constant state of discombobulated. And we don't like that. As human beings, it's not a natural state for us, and it causes stress. And for some people, it's a real problem. For other people, they've coping mechanisms, right? But still having to use coping mechanisms is, again, something that you don't want to overuse and abuse, right? To have to constantly be coping and dealing with this because you're still in a state of stress. You're just dealing with it. And then there are some people just happy-go-lucky, who cares, whatever. I mean, I'm trying to approach that level because my life has become so, absurd, It's
This is insane.
Every time it rains and I'm dumping buckets out of the third floor window, I mean, what am I supposed to do? I have to, I have to imagine myself as some medieval guy, dumping a thing out. Yeah, I mean, it's you have to try to even find humor sometimes in the ridiculousness. Though it's not funny, it's really not funny, especially this rodent that I'm dealing with in my backyard. So, because I'm ready, I showed you those pictures of kale and stuff. I'm ready to pluck some of those leaves off and put them in my salad. But, having some rodent crawling around in the yard, though I believe it's only has focused so far to date on the bird feeder area, I just don't feel comfortable, eating any of that stuff. Because they're filthy creatures that carry all kinds of things, including, speaking of medieval times, the plague, right? And I've had people say, get rid of the bird feeder. It's no, the bird feeder, the whole purpose originally of the bird feeder, first of all, I've had it for 7 years, never had a rodent until this woman next door, this hoarder, just, I don't know. And she knows she has a problem over there, but she has done nothing. And now I think the thing is moving into my, when she'll solve the problem, fill the hole, or do something over there. Now I've got to deal with getting it out of my compost pile, which fortunately is at the very, very extreme end of my property. But still, it runs up from that, up the path, up the concrete path, in the center of the concrete path. It's fat. It's big and fat. And then goes to the bird feeder. So I'm kind of at my wit's end with that. I don't know what to do. I'm going to shore it up more. I'm going to paint some more there. I guess I could try to put some I guess I could try to put some traps out and things like that. And then just have it released. I'm a humane person when it comes to this kind of stuff. But, I don't know. I think I've seen 2. Recently, I've only seen 1. But I don't know. I think one of them may have moved. But then again, one may be nursing. I think they have like 10 rats when they, when they have a litter or whatever they call it. So the one may be the female who's sitting there laying down nursing, and the other one may just be making trips to the bird feeder to bring food. So that's all I need is 12 rats running around my yard when my garden is growing and there's food that I want to eat. So yeah, it's pretty crazy. But that's just personal stress. See, that's nothing coming from the powers that be, so to speak. So I don't have a solution to that other than that I probably wouldn't even be able to, sit here before you talking and make somewhat light of this, of my personal struggles. If I wasn't in a position where I kind of had things somewhat under control, or I have my finances somewhat figured out, budgeted. You see me taking notes, where I try to keep organized, so I kind of have that sense of like, okay, here's what I have to do.
Really funny.
Come on. But so that and that's the best advice I could give anybody, is that get enough of the things that you can manage. All right. The inevitable changes that, be aware of, right? Have an idea of what, expectations of what your, what direction your life is going or where you're going, kind of a compass. And then as these unexpected changes, or, when you're just blindsided, like we've been the past couple of years by this corporatocracy, bureaucracy, former United States government, global governance, international crime syndicate, the World Economic Forum, so that you're better prepared, and it doesn't throw you over the deep end, or you don't have a, brain aneurysm. I mean, because, there's a lot going on, and they're throwing an awful lot of stuff at us, and people are just like watching TV, watching the news, right? And it's like, what next? What next? And like I say, and then pressure on people. We've always had this consumerism society. Like I say, I've been in the advertising business, one of my hats I've worn. And so there's always been this move to sell products and services to people. But the pressure has never been this high. I know when I was in the agency business, what we did was, in fact, clients that we would take on, we'd interview clients. We just didn't take anybody. And, so we would make sure that their product or service was legitimate and, had served some purpose. It wasn't, and we would put together a campaign that ultimately led to like commercials or ads, by the way, which are the first things you do. A lot of people today, they create an ad and they think that's advertising. It's like, no, the ad is the last thing you do, right? It begins with understanding the product, the demographics, who the product's targeted at, the need for the product, blah, blah, blah. But I would always, that was the way we approached it. But now they're just throwing a million things like, you need this, you need that. It's like product placement in movies and TV shows, right? As if it's commonplace, you must have this, washer and dryer set that costs a couple of $1,000s, right? Instead of buying, because it would be embarrassing if someone came to your house and saw that you just had like a white washer and dry, the standard, little white square box, which is what I have, right? Hey, one washes and one dries. What, who cares what it looks like? Right? It's like a refrigerator, the thing, all these smart devices that they've created. I mean, it's fine if you're at such a high level of financial, net worth that you've got nothing better to do with your money. Okay? That's one thing. But if you're just some regular person who's just working a job, trying to just live and pay your bills and stuff like that, why get in debt and feel obligated that you have to have the latest, smartphone with 4 cameras on the back of it and some refrigerator that tells you when you're low on butter? You see what I mean? Just because somebody else has it? Or a washer and dryer set that's, like I say, out of control. Some smart range, weird, these sinks, some kind of crazy counter. Let's get everybody's got to have an island with a farmer's sink, right? And some kind of faucet that costs, $600 or something. See, I just, I think that's, the lights are flashing if you look up at camera 2 up there. It's that time of day. It's interesting with this black and white screen and the color camera 2. It kind of adds another dimension to it. The flag almost looks like, like it's see-through or something. That's actually outside. And I don't know if you can notice, but that house over the past week since we've been watching it, they started to put siding on it. And so they just have to finish the top 2 rows on that front extension of the porch. I don't know if they're going to put new windows and doors on there or not. But you can see, if you look really closely at the top, you can see that Tyvek type stuff. So they're going to be, so at least, things are looking up in the neighborhood. It's a pity this neighbor who has where the rodents came from, and now I think are nesting in my compost pile, that her house is like one of the worst houses on the street. And I'm really glad. When I first moved here, the first 2 years, I spent a lot of time fixing her place up. It was really horrible. It was really horrible. I mean, she had like dirt like coming out onto the sidewalk. It was just it was really a dump. You know. But I don't regret fixing it up for her, even though she's a cruel person and stuff like that. I just wish that she would fix it up like the rest of the people here, try to keep their places somewhat presentable, you know. Though, if it keeps the value of my house down, that's a good thing, because I have no intention of selling this house. I want to repair this house. I mean, if my roof becomes totally a washout, I would, you know, I don't know what I would do, because with the cost of real estate being so high, I might just have to, move to another place along this strip or something where it's cheap enough. The taxes here are so low. My mortgage, taxes, and insurance are only $200 a month. So that gives me financial freedom. And that's important. That's one less layer of stress, as I was talking about. So the less things that you're, you know, if I were dealing here is, oh my God, I can't pay this bill, or, oh, this is that. And then on top of it, you got this road, and then you got this, you know, you'd go batty. You'd be overwhelmed. I mean, I got a sick cat too on top of it. So, you know, that's the idea. Yeah, you know, I just feel you have to focus on. And I realize this show's just a flow of consciousness babble, but you know, there's nuggets of things in here, and you know, you're passing the time, and I'm passing the time. So it's like, you know, like I always say, it's just like in today's world, you know, we don't meet face to face too often because that part has been taken away from society, right? You know, I was watching that Discovery of Witches, and they went back in time to the 1590s, you know, and there were several scenes where they would be in these old pubs, right? The classic pubs. And it was, you know, people hanging out, socializing. And it's not as if we haven't done that and it doesn't still go on in this country. But I mean, you know, over the past decade, and particularly the past couple of years, you know, pubs aren't the same as they used to be. And just talk, you know, over in Ireland, for example, the neighborhood pub, the corner pub, I mean, they're just like disappearing and vanishing. You know, I've often thought about, moving to, I wish I would have actually 10 years ago moved to Ireland, because I probably could have gotten one of those pubs for a song. And I wouldn't care if I only had, a dozen regular patrons, right? It'd be something to do every day and talk and socialize and live upstairs. And as long as I could pay the bills, a lot of people don't view life that way. And especially as they get older, they won't let go of the material thing. And I guess that's the thing I was trying to talk about this consumerism gone out of control, from when I was doing the advertising and things like that. And like I say, I know firsthand, I'm speaking from firsthand experiences with people I've encountered, and I know. But they feel as if they have to, cling to some sort of lifestyle until the day they die. And the idea is the only thing you really have to do is eat and have a roof over your head, basically, consume, eat, drink, and have a roof over your head. And have enough basic income to pay those bills, which the average person, if they had a job and they paid into Social Security, and if they lived like I lived, and find a decent, that's a clean neighborhood, Like I say, some people are looking at you got rats in your yard. Yeah, it just happened. It's a new occurrence. It's a weird thing. It's some lady. She screwed up. I'll get rid of it. If it doesn't work, I'll just end up, hiring somebody to come in and exterminate the damn thing. All right? I don't want to do that. I'm trying to deal with this in a humane way. But time's ticking. If I can't solve the problem in a week, that thing is going to be driven out. For good. But I don't want to have to, Where are the cats when you need them? Some feral cats. The weather's so nice. I still haven't seen any cats. I'm like, where are the cats? It's very strange. There used to be alley cats back there. And that's why we never, so why would you know what I mean? It's like, I haven't seen a cat. And I used to see them, they'd be in my yard drinking out of my pond in the morning sometimes. And then they'd run, or sometimes they would nap by my garage. I have my garage at the edge of my house. And they would nap there in the mornings or late in the day. Right? Haven't seen any. So it's like, hey, set the cat, set some cats loose. I've been thinking about getting going to the animal shelter and getting a cat, do one of these cat rescues and having it as an outdoor cat. But I would let it, since I have a garage, I guess I could put a cat door on that garage. And so in the, winter, it would have shelter. But since I spend half the year outdoors and I'm always out back there, it's not like the cat would be lonely or anything like that, or, it would have a friend. It would just be an outdoor cat. People have outdoor cats, I've known people to, have pets that were just not in their house. They fed them at their back door. The cat lived outside, but the cat stayed around their patio and, wandered, did its thing, but it was their pet, So that's one option I have, is to adopt a cat. My cat's too sick, perhaps dying. I hate to say that. Frail, and he's an indoor cat to begin with, so he's no solution. It's daylight, sunrise. Yeah, if you look closely at that house, and it depends. If you have a small screen, you can't see this, but if you're watching this on a TV, you can see the porch by the windows. It's a smoother, I don't know what color you would call that, putty, beige or something. And you could see there's a little strip of beige on the part of the porch that extends out, but then there's that dirty yellow. So they don't have much to cover up. And then they just have to do, I guess, the up by the roof area. And it'll be a presentable place, which is nice to have across the street from you. And next to that is a beautiful brick apartment building, modern, and a hardware store next to it. So it's like, but one of the sad things here is that when you look at camera 2, you could see my porch and there's 2 wicker chairs out there. But in the foreground where the word camera 2 view outside is, that's a towel. And that's like the window. I have a setup thing, and my cat used to lay there. And right now, at this time of day, and before he was sick, he would be hanging out there. I don't know. It's really sad. I don't know. Yeah, it's the struggle of life and the stress of life and things that happen, and That was yesterday's show. Watch that if you want to, just if sometimes it's not misery loves company, but I mean, if the idea of like, why, what's it all about? Why are things the way they are? And I guess today, in a sense, is a continuation of that in a way, just dealing with the struggles and trying to say, to simplify our lives as best as possible. Don't hold on to material things. There's a stage play I remember. It was called "You Can't Take It With You," and that was the moral of that play. Basically, was the title of the play. Was that don't be so focused on the material things. It's like, I have no problem with technology. I'm not a Luddite, meaning someone who like is against technology. I embrace it. I use it. I like new things. I'm fascinated. But I have to live within my means, so I'm not obsessed with it. And so I'm more likely to buy cat food than I am to buy the latest gadget, you see. So, I don't know. That's just me. And nobody can tell you how to live your life. You do whatever you want to do. If you're happy and you can afford it, then I don't think you're watching this video to begin with. And like I was saying before, in a time when we don't have the pub, which, see, there's another squirrel in the background if you look closely at this picture over here. But I mean, in the absence of that, where we can gather, I mean, people still gather. There's still community in many, many parts of the country and world. But I know where I am, we don't have a lot of opportunities for gathering community, And certainly the neighborhood bar, pub scene is not what you think. And for some, it's just daytime, drinkers that just it's not, you're not going to go in there and have a conversation of, like I was talking about yesterday, deep thought conversation on philosophy, ideas, and, things in general. So this is what we have. Excuse me. You come into my house through this medium and, it's somebody keeping you company. Excuse me. Sorry, I felt a sneeze coming on. I hate to do that, but it's a live show. I can't edit this. When it's done, it's done. It's on. If it gets any brighter out there, that camera. So I don't know if this is, been a decent video for you, if it's helped you, or if it's just been a way to pass the time and think about some ideas and, seeing how one person, is existing, getting by, that you're not alone in, in the struggle of life, and that we all have these, issues affecting us. And, what do? We do the best we can. We just move forward. And for me, all I say is that I don't, I'd be a basket case if I didn't simplify my life as much as I did. Right? Because I wouldn't, because the problems facing me would have been too overwhelming if I was also facing financial, problems and other personal problems and things of that nature, you know. So the simpler your life is, the better prepared you are, the more the better position you are to deal with change, right? And the unknown, the unexpected, right? And the least surprised, or you won't be thrown into some state of panic or disbelief or insanity. There's that cab that comes by here. I think the cab is dropping off one of the workers that works on that house. That's what that's what I'm figuring. Let's see if we see somebody walk across the street. I mean, it stopped. But I see somebody, I think I see smoke. Somebody's smoking a cigarette. So they're standing there. We can't see them. They're beyond my porch. My porch is raised. And I imagine eventually they're going to, maybe they're going to finish a cigarette, dump the ash in my sidewalk. Yeah, someone's smoking a cigarette in front of my house. But yes, that's what I think. I think it's somebody that does that, works on that property. There's like a couple of people that have been doing it. So that's it. That's about it. Sunrise, 6:24 a.m. on the 24th. I'm going to be spending the better part of my day outside, and as you heard earlier, if you watched the show from the beginning, I've got a pretty long list of things to do. So my day's busy, and it's going to be mostly sunny too. So after it, I'll have a chance to sit down in my lounge chair and soak up some vitamin D. It's a time of year where you really don't need to take D3 pills if you get, if you're able to get out in the sun and get at least, check, you got to check it. That DMinder app is a good one, but, check out, you could find these apps that tell you when the sun is at the right angle and when you're getting the optimal amount of vitamin D from the sun in your area. Like you put in your zip code or something like that. I forget what I had to put in to get it to work for me. And, your natural vitamin D, it's just like anything else, is way better than a supplement. It's the same as taking in, any other kind of vitamin or mineral. It's like you're much more better to get it from some sort of food source than you are, a natural source, than you are to be popping pills. I know some people, they take like 12 supplements every day, and they live in their house, drive their car, go to their office, like I say, wash, rinse, repeat. What kind of life is that, right? So I rather the natural, and plus the sun opens up so many receptors in your body. So anyway, that's that. I didn't really, I said it wasn't about beer. I wouldn't mind having a couple of beers. I mean, I touched on the pub idea there, but it's like, I miss the pub days. I used to hang out, just talk to people, meet interesting characters, listen to music, have fun, upbeat atmosphere, that sort of thing. No worries. The idea wasn't to be, to be a drunkard or anything. It was just this social gathering, and just fun. Now someone just got in a car. So maybe it's someone who takes a cab to meet up with somebody else. I still see smoke coming up. Maybe it's the cab driver stopped to smoke a cigarette. got in his car, right? Because they didn't want to smoke in his car, probably can't smoke in his car, and now he'll drive off. It's interesting. I don't know. Fascinating, the things that go on in front of your house. I don't care. Anyway.
Good morning.
Thanks for watching. As always, visit rockflux.com. There's 15 to 20% off of my clothing. So everything from Be Nice to Game Over to You Don't Know What You Don't Know to Then What to Everything You Know Is Wrong. 20% off all sorts of apparel and accessories. Visit Great Solar Stuff, and it's not about solar panels alone. It's about power backup in case the grid goes down. And of course, I tell you my books, Then What and Codex, are like companion pieces for these shows. Check them out. You could get Then What on Amazon, the print version. Get the print versions. They're available in other versions, but they don't. I've designed them for print. They're like $9.95. Grab one. Anyway, that's about it. So I hope you have a great day, and I hope my day goes good. And send some well wishes to my cat, and hope he does well. I'll talk to you soon. Cheers.